Alright, now I'm going to go over the supply list and cutting guide to make this version of the album. And again, this version does not have the hinge system. I'll show you how we do it as we get going. So for chipboard, you need one piece 1 by 8.5, one piece 1 1/4 by 8.5, two pieces of chipboard 5 by 8.5, and one piece 5.5 by 8. You can use medium weight chipboard or the heavyweight chipboard, whichever you prefer. Then to cover those pieces, you will need a piece of cardstock. So you can use the Artisan cardstock by Country Craft Creations. That would be fabulous. For demonstration, I'm not using that. I'm just using some plain 65-pound cardstock. You'll need one piece 4 by 10, one piece 4 1/4 by 10.5, one piece 7.5 by 10, and two pieces 7 by 10. I'm sorry, that last one was 7.5 by 10.5. Can't read my own writing. And then two 7 by 10.5. I mean, really, does that really even say a half? Anyhow, it's written in the description box. For the spine cover, you'll need 8 7/16, so just a smidgen under 8.5 by 4, two of those. And then for the back inside flap, you'll need a piece 4 7/8 by 5.5. And for the back inside pocket, you'll need a piece 5 by 5 7/8. To make the Z fold, you will need one piece 8.5 by 5 3/4, and three pieces 8.5 by 5 1/2. See, I know that says a half, but you probably don't know that says a half. For the center back pocket, you'll need two sheets of 6 1/4 by 8.5. You won't use half of one, but you'll just need that to start. And then finally, you'll need some heavier weight cardstock. This is 110 pound that I'm using to demonstrate it. The Country Craft Creations is strong enough so you can use that. But you'll need 4 of these, 5.5 by 8. All right, we're going to get started with the covering. Turn my stuff over upside down. We're going to cover all of the chipboard pieces. And actually, I'm going to put on the video from the last one I covered, so I'll cover one piece and one spine, and the rest I'll just do in fast motion. I'm going to show you how to cover one of the 3 covers. We're going to do the 5.5 by 8.5, and then I'll show you the spine. But for the 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to grab, this one is the 5.5 by 8.5, so I will grab the larger page, the 7.5 by 10.5, and put it on my scoreboard so it's nice and straight. And then I know I've showed you this before, but Country Craft Creation sells some acetate, thick plastic shims that are really pretty and colorful. I'm going to make sure this is lined up to the side and to the top. And then I will peel off the back of this, which should be easy to do now that we've burnished it real well. And you're just going to push it up against the corner and put it down flat. And there we go. So go ahead and put the other pieces on there. And I'm going to take this and grab a bone folder and turn this upside down. So the you'll notice that there is 1 inch around. So when you're covering it, you're going to measure in 2 inches for the cover. The spine's different, but 2 inches, so you have 1 inch all around. And I'm pushing that down so I can see where the chipboard is, and then I'll fold it like this. And burnish here and here. Fold like that. Burnish there. Unfold that and do the top and bottom. And then when you unfold that, you'll see there are 4 squares on the corners. Let's just grab scissors and cut those out. You're going to notice the squares stop about, maybe a 1/16 of an inch away from the actual chipboard. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take one piece, fold it down, and you'll see there is this little sliver of paper. We're going to cut that off. I'll put the scissors right up against the chipboard and just simply cut it off. You'll see it's just a little teeny piece. So we'll do the 4 sides with the cardstock facing up. And then turn it over so the chipboard's facing up and do it again. So you'll end up with 8 little teeny slices. And then I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive, and I'm using the Art Glitter Designer Dries Clear Adhesive. It's made by the Art Glitter people. It has no glitter in it. So I'm going to put some along the edge of the chipboard and then cover that. Grab my bone folder, push it up against the chipboard, and then fold it down. I'll do that to this side. You might have seen some of my older videos. I cover albums differently. This is a method done by Tamara of Country Craft Creations, and I suggest try it. It's an easy method on how to cover your mini albums. It's part of her lie flat method. Now I don't do the Hinge system the same way she does, but I like this way to cover the books. So try it. And then take your bone folder and just go along the edge of the paper. Okay, and there we have the front or back. Oh, this is the back. So we'll do one of the spines, and I'll show you how that's done. So this is the 1 inch. So you'll need the 4 by 10.5. So the measurement on this is we want 1.5 inches on both sides, 1 inch on the top and bottom. So I'm putting my 1 inch shim there, and I have a 1.5 inch shim for there. And I need to put some tape on here. If I had a 1-inch piece, I would use that, or just I could fill it in with a 1/4 inch, but I'm just going to go like this and add some glue to the center. So, all right, and again, make sure the paper is pushed up to the front and side. I have the 1.5 inch shim on the side and the 1-inch shim on the top. I'm going to put that down, pull the shims off, turn this over and burnish. And I'll also take this and push it down like I did with the cover. And this is going to be a little different. It's not going to be done the same way as the cover, so follow along. Did that get straight? No. All right, now we still can so there are two different methods of doing this. This is the old method. So we're going to cut across the diagonal on here. Now, on the new method, we're going to cut the, in this case, rectangles out, same as we did with the other one. You can decide which way you want to do it. I would be consistent and do the same. Don't do both like I'm doing. Be the same. So here, we're just going to glue. Oh, before I glue, I'm going to snip off that little piece. Now I'm going to glue that down. Okay, so that's one method. And you're going to cover this. We're going to have a piece to cover it. But another way of doing it is to leave that, the triangular pieces. Grab your bone folder, push up against the chipboard edge, push that down, and then go like that. So you can try them both, see which one you like best. I'm going to take this and just push down on the edge. So go ahead and cover the other 3 pieces, and then we'll come back and put it all together. Okay, now that we've got the covers and the spines covered, we're going to put the book together. And I want to show you real quick how it's going to be put together. So you're going to start from left to right, the 5 by 8.5, then the 1 1/4, then the 5 1/2, then the 1, then the other 5. So make sure you get it in that order. I think the important thing to know is the 1 1/2 piece goes in between the 2 covers and on the left side, and the 1-inch piece goes on the right side. The 5 1/2 goes in the center because the book is 5 1/2. The flaps for the covers are smaller. Okay, so let's put it together. We will start with the 5 and the 1 1/4. So it's going to go, we're going to put it together like this. And I'm going to grab some score tape and put some. Now I don't want to put it right next to where the chipboard spine is. I'm probably 1/4 inch away. And I'm also going to use liquid adhesive. You could use one, you could use both. use what you prefer. All right, I'm going to peel off one side of that, grab my liquid adhesive, and I'm going to put it so it's 3/16 of an inch from the actual chipboard on the other side, and then put some over here. And using the scoreboard to line it up. I'm going to line it up and push it like that. There's glue on my... Okay. All right, so we have the 5, the 1 1/4. Now we need the 5 1/2. Peel that off. All right, I'm going to line it up. Pull that over. Push it down, and then go on this side and just push it down real good. All right, now we need the 1-inch piece to go over here. So I'm going to turn it over, add my tape. So I'm lining that up to the top. This, of course, the whole thing won't fit, so I'm just moving it over. And then finally the last piece. All right, then we're going to work this a little bit, just burnish real well. You'll notice it's a little bit wobbly, and that's okay. We're going to straighten it up. All right, so now I've got the book put together. Yeah, so it's all put together. Sometimes when I'm crafting, I will make sure I put an arrow for what is the top, because otherwise I might forget what is the top and what is the bottom, put something on upside down. And when you're putting this together, the larger spine is going to be on the left side, the smaller spine is on the right, just because the way the book folds. So now I'm going to put on the spine cover, and so this was cut just a smidgen smaller than the 8.5 height of the book. On some other ones I've used just a full 1-inch or 2-inch piece of score tape. I'm going to try something different on this one. I'm going to use score tape and some of the glitter glue. And again, it is called art glitter glue, but it doesn't have glitter in it. It's just a very good, strong adhesive. So I'm going to add some glue in between where those 4 pieces of score tape are. Because when you're putting something, the way I'm doing this is we're not using a hinge, but regardless, anytime you're doing something with the spine of the book, and that's where everything gets held together, you need to make sure it is very strong. All right, so now I'm going to center this. I'm going to look and see where I have the tape. I really don't want score tape in the crease. I mean, I don't think it matters, but I just prefer not to. I'm going to line it up with the bottom. And put it down. I'm burnishing with my hand first, then I'll go ahead and take a bowling folder and burnish real well. I want to make sure the glue adheres. I want to make sure the score tape adheres. I want to make sure the score tape doesn't have any bubbles in it, because if there's any air pockets when you're putting down the score tape, that can affect it, because over time those bubbles might lead to gaps where the score tape will fail, and we don't want that. All right, I'm just going to burnish that real well, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab the other piece. Now I've already taken off the backing of the score tape. My feeling on glue is use what you like. I mean, I think it's important to use what people in your area use. If you live in Florida and it's real humid, a glue there might work so much better than what people use out in the Midwest where it's more dry. All right, again, I'm going to center this on here and push down. I'll burnish real good with a bone folder. And let that dry. All right, now we're going to go to our pages for this no hinge version of the book. All right, let's put the pages in. This is the no hinge method. You want to make sure you have a heavyweight cardstock. The artisan cardstock is fine. And for each of these 5.5 by 8 pieces, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. All right, easy enough. That's all we need to do with that. Now, this is where your choice of adhesive is very important. I sometimes will sell my books, and since I don't know where they're going to go, whether it's a humid or a dry environment, I want to hedge my bets. So I use both score tape and liquid adhesive. And the liquid adhesive I use is art glitter glue. I'm going to just put these down. I've got the 1/2 inch score marks at the top, and I am going to simply take 1/4 inch score tape and center it on that little tab. I'm not going all the way to the ends, and I'm trying to do my best to really center it because I want to put glue on both sides and the edges. You never want to cover score tape with a liquid adhesive, but you can supplement it. All right, and now that I've put down that, I'm going to burnish this real well. And I am not going to miter the corners of these pages just because it's going to show a little bit, and I want to make sure that it looks good. Now you can cover this with washi tape or with some just strips of paper. I usually don't. I figured that whatever the album is, whether I make it with white or black or gray or whatever, that's the neutral color, and people don't notice it as much. I'm going to take off that 1/4 inch score tape backing, and with that nice fine tip, I'm going to go all around, all 4 sides of where that tape is. All right, we'll go with this one. So now this book is 8.5, this page is 8, so I want to make sure I am going to center this on the page. I'm going to start with the edge of the tab facing right, and I want to go about 1/8 inch from where the crease is for the spine. So I'm hovering over it until I decide that it's perfect, and when it is, I just drop it straight down and burnish. Fabulous. That came out beautifully. Now I'm going to grab the next one. And again, putting the glue, I don't have too much room over on this side, but anyhow. And this one's easier. Once you've gotten this down and you know it's straight, this one will butt up right, let me see if I can get some light on there, right up to where you've done the last one. I mean, right up to it. And you're going to make sure that you're not in the fold, and I'm not. All right, now we're going to do the same with the next one. We've already put the score tape on. I'm going to take off the backing. I had the pin in my mouth so I couldn't talk. Make sure it's lined up with that one. If it's not the end of the world, because there's so much going on in this book, you won't notice it. But go about 1/8 of an inch away from the seam of the spine and put that down. And then burnish it. And then this one's going to go right next to that one as well. So now that I know where I want to line it up, this one's much easier. I'm going to put the top where it needs to go. And then the bottom, I'm still butting it up against the one I've already got down. I'll push it down with my finger and then burnish like that. And like that. So there you go. You've got pages in the book, and it was super easy. I wanted to mention that these pages we put in are not pocket pages. Now you can make them pocket pages if you want to have a hidden flap in it. All you need is, so this page, this part of it measures 8 by 5. So you'll need a 9 by 5 piece of cardstock. Use the lighter weight or the artisan, whatever you're doing. Score on the short sides at 1/2 inch, and then adhere it at the top and bottom, and add a strip of glue on this side, and then it will be a pocket page. So now we're going to work on the Z fold or zigzag fold. So you'll need 3 pieces of paper. One is 8.5 by 5 3/4, and the other one is 8.5 by 5.5. We're going to have to score, so grab your scoreboard. Let's take the one 8.5 by 5 3/4 first and score that at 1/2 inch on the long side and 3/4 inch. The 3 remaining, you're going to score 1/2 inch on the long side. All right, so we've got these papers cut and scored 1/2 inch on the long side, 1/2 and 3/4. Now what we're going to do is miter the corners. Whoops, I wanted to do a slight miter, not a no miter. And on this one, we have the 2 score lines, just miter from that 1/2 inch. Just ignore that extra 1/4 inch that we have scored. And I'm not going to fold and burnish yet. I'm just going to take it. So we've got the scored end on the left-hand side. I'm going to take one of the sheets and add some glue to it. This is getting stuck. I'm going to have to probably clean the tip at some point. Hopefully it'll last till I finish this book. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to line this up. You know what? Let's use our scoreboard. I'll put the piece with the glue on the top. Find the... You're going to put it just a smidgen over that score line. So there's that. Then we'll move that over, add some glue to the next flap. Put that up there and go just a smidgen to the left of the score line. And one more. Scoreboard comes in handy for so many things, doesn't it? All right. Okay, so we have a long piece of paper. Now we're going to grab some straight edge or something that's got a long line. I don't have a long T-square, even a yardstick. So I'm using my tape measure. I'm going to make a mark on the page at 5 inches on the right side and at 8 inches on the left side. Then I'm going to run straight edge, tape measure, whatever you have. I'm going to bend this here. If I do it upside down, it stays straight. And I'm going to run it from one end to the other, one tick mark to the other, and just draw a line. Oops, you move, don't move. Here's the secret. If it's not exact, it's okay. I mean, I'm a 16th of an inch down, no big deal. If I was an inch down, no big deal. As long as you've established what your bevel is, I guess you'd say. All right, so now that we've got that, I am going to grab my scissors. I like using ones with a nice long blade and cut this. You could use an X-Acto. I went a little more of an incline up at the top. Honestly, I'm not going to worry about that, but I am going to erase my pencil line. Save this piece. You will use that. All right, let's fold at the score lines. Zigzag. So one piece will go that way. One piece will go that way. One piece will go that way. And we're going to fold at these two score lines. All right, now I'm going to take some liquid adhesive and add it to the tab. And we're going to put this in the book. So here's where the fold is. We don't want to go past this fold. We're going to stay about a 16th of an inch away from the fold. And I'm going to make sure it's centered. There's the fold. And there we go. Okay. And then I'll open it. And we're starting to get there. It's getting there. This will stay in place once we put everything else in. So now we're going to work on the pocket in the back. So we have two pieces, 6 1/4 by 8 1/2. The reason this is 6 1/4 is because we have 5 1/4. We have a little bit more room, but I mean, 1/8 of an inch more, but we have 5 1/4 comfortably from side to side. So you would add an inch because we're going to score on both sides. So let's do that. Let us take this and score both pieces at 1/2 an inch. I'm going to take it and rotate, score 1/2 an inch. The other one I'm going to take, rotate, and score 1/2 an inch. And we're scoring on the long sides. But now I'm going to take one of them and score 1/2 an inch on the short side. Then we're going to take the paper we just took out and use this as a template. So to make this book look consistent, you want the diagonal to be the same throughout. If you had a diagonal that was 46 degrees and the next one was 52, it would look a little funky. So the diagonal's all going to be the same. We went from top to bottom and made, for the most part, a straight line. So now I am going to take this, they're both pieces, but it doesn't matter, just take one, and I'm going to line it up at the bottom and at the side, and grab my handy dandy pencil and lightly draw a line. I'm going to take 2 of these sheets at once, put it on my cutting board, and cut. So now I have one sheet that's got a score line on 3, the 2 sides and 1 bottom. Another one, same size, that just has the 2. And these 2 are larger, and they just have score lines on 2 sides. So the one that's got the score lines on the bottom as well, let's miter, especially the bottom. Let's miter the sides of that one too. And if you want, you can miter the sides of this. I'm not going to in this case. All right. So the one that we've got the 3 score lines on, I'm going to get rid of all my stuff. It's making a mess, driving me crazy. And I'm going to fold and burnish. I'm going to add glue to the bottom piece, just the bottom, not the sides. And centering that, I mean, there's only a 1/16 of an inch to play with. I'm going to put that down, open that up, and burnish it real well. Let it have the top still at the top. All right, so we have the fold going that way. The next one, we want the fold going the other way. So I'm just taking the one piece, I'm turning it around, and I'm going to fold and put it underneath that one piece. You know what? Hold the horses. Hold everything. Fold it the other way. Put this aside. Grab that small piece. Fold. Turn it so they zigzags that way. I knew I wasn't going to use all 4 pieces, but I temporarily forgot. All right, to take the one that matches that bottom one, and this is going to go underneath there. And then the other one that we folded, it's going to go under there. So I'm just going to lay them down. I want it to be equidistant. So I want, I don't want this one to show just a little bit and this one to show a lot. So I want it to be equidistant. And you can just eyeball it how you want. And then when I know that that is about how I want, I'm going to hold this down, open it up all the way. No, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to glue this onto the top of that one. This gives me more space. And on the top of this one. You still have these top flaps open in this part you have a flap open. That's okay. Once it's dry, because it's going to take a second, because it's not that easy. As soon as it's good and dry, then we'll take the next piece, and I'm holding it here. I'm going to open that like that. Now, I am sure there is an easier way to do this. I am sure, and I've also toyed with the idea of putting this on a piece of backing paper and putting the paper right on there. But my problem with that is I don't want the book to get too thick too quick. So, so I am not doing it that way. Just make sure this is straight. Keeps your zigzag straight. All right, and then once that is on there and it is glued down, let's add some more glue here to the flaps that are showing. Fold that up and put that down. Be gentle with this. It's going to take a little bit to dry, but there you go. All right, so we've got the zigzag in the back. We've got the zigzag pages. We've got the 2 pages. Now this one, the other one, I put a pocket in the front. This one we're not going to because we're going to add magnets to it. Also, this you would want to save, because once you put your paper on here, your designer paper, pattern paper, whatever you want to call it, you'll just cut this right at the seam. I know there will be 2 layers, but that's okay. And glue this on 3 sides. So let's say you want to put this here, which is fine. You'll glue it on 3 sides to make a pocket and put more pattern paper on the top. So for now, though, we're going to work on the back of the book. This is a pocket with a flap. I cannot do a flap on a back pocket without rounding the corners. It just doesn't look right to me. So I round the corners. I'll do that. I'm going to miter those there. There and there, and I'm going to fold and burnish. So when I fold and burnish, I like to fold into the bump. So that's how we scored it. This is the opposite side. I'm folding into the bump. It does make a difference. It doesn't make that big of a difference. I mean, it's probably a microscopic difference. So if you can do it that way, that's great. If you don't, it is not the end of the world. All right, I'm going to take this pocket and I'm going to put it close to the right edge because I don't want to go anywhere near the fold. So if you just stay close to the right edge, you'll be golden. And then this flap is going to go here. I just eyeball it first just to make sure it's level, even with this back pocket. Add my liquid adhesive. Good thing about liquid adhesive here is you have a couple of seconds to manipulate it. I'm putting it right up at the top. And burnish. We'll open that up and burnish. And of course, you're going to put some kind of cardstock on here. That's why I don't cover this. You could cover it and it would look pretty while you're making it, but but you don't have to, because you're going to cover this part anyhow with cardstock. So again, you can use a magnet to close that. You could use the 2 circle library closures. You could use a swivel tab. You could just leave it the way it is and let it close on its own. That is the basic construction of our Zig Zag Mini Album folio. Oh, I did want to put magnets on. Just to show you. Here's the problem. I only have 1 set. I should get some in the next day or so. So I don't think I will, but I'll show you where they'll go. When you close the book, make sure that the sides are right in at a right angle from the bottom. You don't want them to be wonky and make a trapezoid. You would think I'd know that from geometry, but I know that from watching hockey. All right, so you'll want it like this. There is a 1/2 inch going to show on this side, which is fine. Again, you could use ribbon, put ribbon under the paper, and put ribbon here and put it, I would put it on the back and tie it. Or you could use ribbon. You could make a hole after you've put the paper on. You could do it here and then make a hole here. You would hide it underneath your pocket. Or you could do magnets. If you're going to do magnets, again, you're going to have it about 1/2 inch. I would put them on the bottom, close the book, let it adhere, and I would do two would hold this book because it's not a thick book. So use 2 magnets and that'll be perfect. If you have any questions, put it in the description box and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you have enjoyed this. Don't forget there is another one using a Hinge system, and there is also the walkthrough. And I've made a couple different ones with different papers, so I will add them to the playlist as I finish taping them. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fabulous day.